This is My First Job in Sports, the show created to kickstart your journey toward a successful career in the sports industry. Presented by SBRnet, your comprehensive source for data focused on sports fans and more. Here's your host of My First Job in Sports, Neil Schwartz.
Hi, this is Neil Schwartz, and I'm your host for My First Job in Sports, the show that brings you a little motivation, a little navigation, a little persuasion, and even a little help in helping you get that first job in sports. And I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Ashley Gardner, Associate Professor at Temple University. Dr. G, you want to say hello?
Hey, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. As Neil said, I'm an assistant professor at Temple University in the Department of Sport, Tourism, and Hospitality Management. So I love all things sports.
Dr. G, what was your first job in sports?
My first job in sports was the National Events Coordinator for USA Fencing, which is an Olympic sport. So that was an absolute blast, knowing that you could have a full career within the Olympic movement with all of the perks you can probably think of.
Yeah, I met Dr. Gardner for the first time. Actually, we met pre our Get in the Game event that we just held in Baltimore, and I got a chance to, drop in on Dr. Gardner's class, and then I spent some time with Dr. Gardner at the event, and, hopefully over the course of the next few shows, you're going to learn a little bit about her background, what she really brings, aside from a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, she really brings a wide variety of experience. And that is something that we really promote here at My First Job in Sports. We want everybody to, gain a wide variety of experiences. I know one of the things, we talked about is saying yes. And I know that's something you believe in.
Absolutely. Throughout my career, I said yes. I was a volunteer for the women's tackle football team in Chicago, all the way down to the WNBA in 2014, before the WNBA got sexy, as people call it. So yes, I say yes. I say yes all day.
I say yes, too. In fact, sometimes I probably should say no. But you know what? Let's get to our interview with Emily Bogdanowicz from the Atlanta Hawks. She came to us through New Haven University, Dr. Cheta Manchu, who does a wonderful job there. Emily, I know, probably had a couple classes with Dr. M. But Emily, welcome to My First Job in Sports.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Emily, as is history with what we do, we'd like to get a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Just a little bit about your background. And then, we want to learn about, first of all, how you got into sports, what you love. I mean, there's a lot of things we really want to get into. So just get us started with a little bit of background.
For sure. So brief overview. Again, I'm Emily Bogdanowicz, originally from Baltimore, Maryland, went to the University of New Haven, as Neil said, up in Connecticut, studied sport management for my undergrad. And then I actually did do grad school at New Haven as well, getting my MBA. And then, majored in sport management, grew up playing sports, played soccer and lacrosse growing up. I know, especially lacrosse in Maryland is big. But loved playing those growing up. Actually played soccer while at New Haven, which was awesome, getting to play a collegiate sport. Mm-hmm. But yeah, basically just growing up playing sports got me into the love of trying to work in the business of it all. So, obviously I'm in sports now and I love it so far.
So your first gig out of school is with the Atlanta Hawks. Did I get that right?
Yes,
it
is.
Talk about like hitting a home run. Oh, but wait, that's the wrong sport. I'd be like hitting a three-pointer. Talk to us about that first gig. What are you doing right now for the Atlanta Hawks? Talk a little bit about what you did when you started and then where it kind of is taking you.
Yeah. So first job out of school, I graduated in May. So this past May, 2024, had been interviewing, had been talking with a bunch of teams actually. And, going into my quote unquote senior year of school, which was actually my grad school year, had numerous job offers. One of them being the Hawks, was talking with a couple of other teams, but I knew I wanted to do ticket sales. Granted, when I first started school, was not like, hey, I'm going to be a ticket salesman, but kind of found a love for it throughout my time at New Haven and, been working here about 6 months now as a membership associate. So kind of that entry-level role, learning, the ins and outs of sales, how to sell, how to go about it, the different products and whatnot. But, I've loved it so far. I love the Hawks as an organization. That was definitely a big thing for me when I was looking for my first job, is the organization, the culture of it all. So again, like I mentioned, having other offers and whatnot, that kind of final piece for me was that culture.
I love that. I actually want to build upon something that you just talked about and how you came in not saying, oh, I want to go in sales, but you started in sales. And I have a lot of students that obviously they come in and they say, I want to be a GM. Everybody wants to be a GM, right? Which is fantastic. However, we need to be a little bit more realistic. And so can you talk a little bit to, let's say maybe people that really want to go into the sport industry? Can you talk about the nuances of sales and specifically why they should not be afraid to start at that sales level? Because of course, once they get in, they're told, hey, if you're going to be a GM, great, but you're probably going to start in sales. And a lot of students aren't necessarily sold on sales. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's what I was told. So can you just speak to sales and what they should expect and how to not be afraid?
Yeah. So me, much like other students, I went in being like, I want to be an agent. I want to be a GM. Everyone's going for the big wig jobs, right? And not gonna lie, my end goal, I'm going to be NFL commissioner. So I'm still reaching for, kind of the high grounds. But, with a lot of people is, everybody wants to be a GM. But you look at the NBA, the NFL, you got 30, 32 teams, X many teams. All right, that's only 60 jobs, right? 60 GMs. And those people, again, are building over time. But the thing with sales that not many people go into, school thinking I'm going to be a salesman is a lot of people think of sleazy car salesman, right?
Yes, they do.
Nobody likes the association of that. They think salespeople, that's what they think of. But sports is so much different, right? Cars are more of a need, more so, you don't have to have a car, but a lot of people do use cars. With sports, nobody needs to be going out to live sporting events, right? That's not something you need to do, but people love doing it, the camaraderie of it all. So it's a different thing you're selling than associating sleazy car salesman with sports, right? It's an experience, it's memories for a lifetime. So it's just a different mindset. So that's one thing I think students need to know, is that that's what you're going to think of. That's not what you are going into sports sales. The other thing is, again, I didn't think I wanted to go into sports sales, but I did what's called the National Collegiate Sports Sales Championship.
That's at Baylor, correct? From Baylor University?
Correct. So Baylor kind of hosts it, runs it, and it's held at State Farm Arena where the Hawks play every kind of spring. It's coming up in January. So I did that as a junior, quote unquote, senior in school. And that kind of is how I first got my foot wet into the, sports sales atmosphere. And what's so nice about it is if you can sell sports, if you can learn how to sell, you can go anywhere from there, right? A lot of people that I've talked to within the New Haven alumni kind of atmosphere, they started in sales, did that for 2-3 years. Now they're, VPs of marketing. They do this, they do that. They're corporate partnerships. But the trend I saw is all these people started in sales and then pivoted down the line. I'm like, you know what? If I have to get started in sales and then pivot, let's do that. No big deal. I'm a people person, love talking to people. I could see myself doing it. So I'm like, might as well. The other thing too is if you can sell tickets, if you can sell an experience, you can sell yourself, right? So if you are going into those interviews down the line, you want to be that GM. How can you sell yourself to the hiring manager, to whoever, to the team? So it's not only are you selling this product, but you learn how to talk to people, you learn how to sell yourself. There's so many fundamental skills that you get in sales that is going to set you up for the rest of your career, whether that's in, marketing, partnerships, operations. All those things come from kind of getting that sales foundation.
We just had an event called My First Job in Sports. In fact, Dr. Gardner was one of our panelists at the event. And what actually came up more than one time was the topic of starting in sales. And so many people are, and I think you've said it really well, Emily, is that people are afraid to start in sales. They have the wrong image of what sales is really all about. But, let me just ask you one important question, because I think I know the answer to it. And, like a lawyer, they say, don't ever ask a question you don't know the answer to. Why sports? What do you love about sports?
I think a lot of people have such fond memories or just associations with sports, whether they played, they followed the NBA their whole life, the NFL, whatever it may be. There's just like the experience that sports provides is undeniable, unlike anything else. Like COVID shut down everything. Right. Why do we still have live sports of all things, right? Granted, we're not going in person, but people tuned in to watch. People wanted to get back out into the arenas, into the stadiums after COVID. Mm-hmm. So I think there's just an undeniable camaraderie, especially when you're with your people rooting for the same team, right? You got Joe Schmo next to you, and then you got the family on the other side. It's like just the camaraderie of sports, I think, is something that I've always loved, the atmosphere. And then again, a big thing in selling is that atmosphere, right? I can't sell wins and losses. I can't affect what's happening on the court. I'm 5'5". I'm not doing anything on a basketball court with these 6-7 foot players.
No, you're not going down slam dunking right now?
Nah, not anytime soon. So it's like that. I can't do anything about the basketball side or, the field side, the court, the ice. But I can sell an experience where come out with your family, enjoy a night out, create these memories. At the end of the day, if you ask someone, they're not going to remember the score, the opponent. I'm on the phones every day. They're like, I don't remember who, but I remembered I had a great time with, my girlfriend, and we got these drinks and they were amazing. We had a great time, blah, blah, blah. That's what they're remembering, not, oh, this score, that score.
Dr. Gardner, when I came into your class to talk, what was like the first thing I said to the students about sports?
Sports is fun.
And you're selling the fun, Emily. That's what you're selling. And if you can't sell fun, how do you not sell fun? We're going to have some fun. I'll tell a quick anecdote. I don't usually love to do this, but my 10-year-old grandson went to his first NFL game a couple of weeks ago. It was the Dolphins versus the Jets down here in Miami. The game went to overtime, and the Dolphins did manage to win in overtime. And my son-in-law, my former son-in-law, because they're divorced. Get into that some other time. He said it was the most amazing thing. Ashton, which is his name, when they scored the winning touchdown, he said he was jumping up and down on his seat, high-fiving all these people around him that we didn't know. He said he had the most incredible time. And I'm coming back to those first 3 words. Sports are fun.
Absolutely. And one thing you talked about, Emily, is that what you are doing is selling an experience. And selling an experience is a skill set, right? This is a skill set that has to be acquired. And so what I want to know is what sorts of skills and experiences do you encourage students to get before they even graduate?
Oh, great question.
Because you had it, clearly.
Great question.
No, so this is something that was kind of drilled home to me at New Haven. And so my freshman year, so I graduated high school during COVID, right? 2020 COVID, I graduated, didn't get a graduation, didn't get a prom, missed out on all these things. Wasn't even sure if I would be going physically in person to school that fall, right? So, 18-year-old me trying to navigate this college, atmosphere, how to do it. I'm 5 hours away from home. So my first year got involved in some clubs. There's a sport industry club. I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's do that. Got involved, right? I know all the college campus tours or whatnot. They're like, oh, this club, that club, get involved. Do something, right? Did that. Realized that I could have been doing more. So I talked to my really good friend at the time who she was doing everything and anything. She's on the soccer team with me. She's in all these clubs. The radio station we had on campus is coaching soccer on the side. And I'm like, how do you do all this? Like, I don't understand how you're doing that. She's like, if it's important to you, you'll make time for it. And that stuck with me. So from then on, I started working on campus, doing this, doing that, doing the other, right? And I realized that if I'm going to set myself apart, I need to take advantage of the little opportunities. And it can be, I did weekend stuff, right? Weekend tournaments. I did the Ivy League track and field championship. Yale's right down the road from New Haven. Did that for a weekend, recording. I did shot put. So I was like recording the distance that the ball went and whatnot. And it's like little stuff like that. But I was also helping corral, the athletes after they were running their races and, oh, you need to go to the podium. And it was just these little things I kept doing like that built up over time. So my summer going into my junior year which would have been my last year of my bachelor's degree, needed an internship and couldn't find much. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Can't find it. I need someone just to get the foot in the door. Stayed in Connecticut that summer, worked for Hartford Athletic, who's a soccer team, minor league soccer team up in Connecticut. And because I stayed, Dr. Mumchu, who's the sport management chair, always is sending out opportunities. She actually, through the school, we got to go to Orlando, Florida for the Special Olympics in 2022, which I was one of the volunteer service directors for bocce. So we were there for a week. The school, all on them, which was phenomenal. But getting to interact with these Special Olympic athletes who are literally Olympians, like I'm interacting with Olympians, just interacting with them at 5 a.m. and being like, oh, go Team Nevada. And then, they'll go compete. They'll come back over and be like, look, I won a medal. And it's like, holy crap, like this is awesome. What we're doing is giving them undeniable experiences. I'm getting undeniable experiences. So doing that for a summer, I didn't know how to play bocce. I knew like people played it on the sand, like on vacation, didn't know the legitness of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So like interacting with them doing that. I did the Travelers Championship, which is also in Connecticut, worked with CBS Sports as they called it a parab. So I'm following these pro golfers, Scheffler, Roy McIlroy on the course, recording literally their swings, them warming up in, the grass and swinging whatever they were doing. And that was, again, 4 days. It was a weekend. So little things like that over the course of a summer just jump-started my sports career.
Did you find opportunities like that also gave you an opportunity to start building relationships and networking? Talk about networking and how important, being at these events and being a part of these events, puts you in front of people.
Exactly. No, that's exactly it too, is, with the Special Olympics, you're bringing in all these different people from all over the country who you wouldn't have interacted with, otherwise. I'm connected with them on LinkedIn, seeing what they're up to. When the next, Special Olympics comes up, oh, they're going to this, they're doing that, they're doing this, interacting that way in front of CBS Sports and their people at the Travelers Championship. I wouldn't have interacted with these people otherwise. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I saw the inner workings of what you guys do and the production booths and whatnot. So you're getting in front of all these people and you're connecting with them on LinkedIn afterwards. You're keeping up. So if opportunities open up down the line, you have an in with, these different organizations.
And when it comes to networking, you have to not be shy. Like you said, you're a people person. You can get up in front of somebody, talk. But obviously, every sport management student, everybody that wants to go into sports isn't as outgoing as you are. So can you give a little bit of advice? We love hearing some of you all and what you have to say about advice, but can you all give some people that may be shy or easily intimidated by certain environments to kind of get over that and to just be bold and to network?
Yeah, no, and I know a lot of people do struggle with this, right? I think, I am an athlete myself. I know that kind of naturally comes with being an athlete most of the time. But I have friends who were in the sport management department with me who were a little bit more shy and intimidated, but it's knowing you want to have the best interest for yourself. So even if you're shy, you know that if I have to put my best foot forward, this is how I'm going to do it. Be confident in your skill set. Be confident in what you have to say. And if you're at a recruiting event, you're at a networking event, and you get 5 minutes to make an impression with this recruiter, know that they're going to give you 5 minutes, right? They're not looking at the guy behind you who maybe is a little bit more outgoing, a little bit more personable. They're going to give you 5 minutes. Do what you can. Speak on your skill set, how you can help benefit that company, that organization. And then from there, if it works out, it works out. If not, you did try. As long as you're putting your best foot forward, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about at my first job in sports, but I also talk about this all the time at Get in the Game, and I talked about this, really when I talk to students all the time, is work on your elevator pitch. Work on 3 to 5 minutes about you, but things that people really want to know and things that you think are important. It's probably not important you took this course, took that course, but it may be really important that you just like you said, you worked at a Special Olympics event. And here's what I found by working at the Special Olympics event. That's the kind of things that people really are interested in.
No, exactly.
Absolutely. And one thing that I always tell people is that it's not about who you know, it's who actually knows you. And so that's by having those conversations and being strategic in your networking and not just giving away your business card. They need to remember you when you leave out of that conference, when you leave out of that volunteership, internship, whatever it is.
I know Dr. Mumtrue is very proud of the program she has built at the University of New Haven. I adore her. She's a wonderful person. I met her about 4 or 5 years ago at an event. We stayed in touch. Unfortunately, she couldn't be at my event, getting the game. We did a couple weeks ago. Dr. Gardner was there. I know she's built one. I guess they're ranked like in the top 10, of sports management programs here in the United States as well as internationally. So this is her shameless plug for Dr. Cheda. But let me ask you a question. So you're in school, you're picking out courses. What were some of the courses you took, some of your favorites that you felt were really beneficial to helping you jumpstart your career?
Yeah. So one of my favorites that Dr. Mumtrue actually did get to teach was my sport marketing class. And she has a big emphasis, the whole department, on interacting within the industry, right? So you can do tests, you can do textbook readings, but you're going to learn by doing. And again, that's where that experience piece comes in too. But in this sport marketing class, we actually worked with the Connecticut Sun, the WNBA team. And we met with Amy Shear, who was I believe the VP or the director of business operations at the time. And they came to us saying that we want to get younger. That was the goal, right? They had, a bit of an older demographic, especially with, women who right around this when Title IX was coming out, they're supporting women's sports. Women's sports are growing. So they had an older demographic. They wanted to target millennials and Gen Z. And this was a semester-long project. We did it in the spring. And Dr. Mumtrue partnered people up, groups of 2, groups of 3. I was in a group of 2. And me and my partner, I told him from the get-go, we're going to hit this out of the park. There was an opportunity to go to Mohegan Sun where they play and actually pitch to their executives. And I'm like, our goal is to go to Mohegan Sun and pitch, because I could recognize that, yes, I can do this for a grade, pass the course, great, next. But there's an opportunity to get in front of executives in an industry I want to work for and give them that first impression, make my name known to them. So we actually ended up going and pitching. But overall, just learning, the sport marketing aspects of it are phenomenal, but being able to interact with these professionals over the course of, 3 to 4 months in a semester, interacting with them. And then what resulted for me is, again, this is the same summer I stayed in Connecticut. I actually got to shadow the Connecticut Sun at their games in the ticketing department and interact with them. If I didn't recognize that this class could lead to something like that, I could have passed next. Plenty of other people did that within the class. But again, I now have stronger connections with the Connecticut Sun. I can hit up Dan Tamburo if I wanted to. Be like, hey, Dan, what's going on? Yada, yada, this, that, the other. But again, another industry connection from a class because we did something physical within the industry versus let's read a textbook, fill out a test, do a quiz. So that was one of her classes that was just undeniable for me, truly helped me recognize how there's an opportunity. You can do it for your grade, do it for the class, but how are you going to go above and beyond with this opportunity you're given?
I love that class. As an instructor, I had so many ideas roaming in my head on what I can do with my classes. As I don't teach sport marketing, but I teach a class on how to design experiences, kind of what you're talking about, how you're selling experiences. We're teaching them, okay, how do you design a VIP experience for the Eagles and things like that? So now I really want to talk about classes or even a major you wish you could have taken, because you talked about sport marketing, but at Temple, we have classes on NIL now. We have classes on sport books. We have all on esports, right? And so now knowing what you know, what are some courses or even a whole new major, because you got your master's in business administration, but were there some other areas that you were interested in that you think it could have helped you to get to where you are now?
Yeah. So at least at New Haven, we didn't have any specific sales courses or anything like that, ticket sales, corporate partnerships, whatever it may be. That's something I wish that we did have. I know Dr. Mumtrue's trying to incorporate that a little bit more now.
And data analytics also. Give a little shout out. Come on, a little shout out to me. And,
Yes. So that's a big one that I wish I had taken. Granted, I went on my own, met with alumni and learned that stuff. But that's a big thing. Again, if a lot of these alumni are starting in sales, why not give these students the tools to have a base foundation when they do go into that first job? They're not like, whoa, what am I doing? So that's one thing. And then with esports, kind of like you mentioned, New Haven does have an esports program, major, minor, and esports teams. I actually debated minoring in esports, took an esports class, which was very rewarding, very different. I'm not a gamer myself, but the business side of it I was fascinated in. So that was something I debated doing. Didn't end up doing it with my accelerated program, but I think esports is a big industry that's growing. And then also, obviously, working in sales, wishing I had taken a sales course.
Emily, by the way, you've been great today. Really, been very forthcoming with a lot of great responses. But, in your experience and talking with other students and being with other students, what are some of the common mistakes that you find other students are making as they're trying to get into sports business?
Yeah, so I think obviously I'm working in sales and not like a shameless plug for sales, but it's recognizing that you may have to start doing something you think you don't like doing to get to where you want to go.
Right.
So, a lot of the opportunities that you're going to find for entry level roles outside of, going into your first job is going to be a sales role. And a lot of them, they are about a year-long position or so. And a lot of people stay in it for about a year. That's when they get promoted or they go try something else, whatever it may be. Take that leap, try sales. If you don't like it, awesome. Now you know you don't like it, but you have a year within a company that maybe a different position opens up in a different department you could apply for. Or they know somebody at a different team that has openings. You can always do that. But again, don't knock it till you try it because you never know what's going to come from it. And then again, you'll have that sales foundation for when you go for the next role. You know how to sell yourself for that other position that you may want. So that's one thing where, I think students are getting out of school and they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to do sales, but sometimes you got to bite the bullet and just do it anyways.
Sales is where it's at. I tell them all the time.
Absolutely. You're right. Students often knock it before they try it. They think they don't like sales, so they won't even take a sales internship. But like you said, internships is really where you figure out what you like and what you don't like. So can you talk about the importance of getting the right internship, but then also just getting a variety of experiences?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So my first internship was, again, in sales when I didn't think I was going to enjoy sales, but I got to that point where I'm like, I need an internship before I graduate. If sales is what I got to do, okay. And if you're doing a summer or winter internship, at most it's going to be 3-4 months long, right? You do it for 3 months, you realize you don't like it, or you realize that you love it. But again, it's only 3 months, and you figure out what you like, what you don't like again. And
Sure.
if you are doing, a big talk is like minor league baseball teams, minor league teams. If you're doing any minor league team, you're doing a lot more than what your role describes.
It's awesome. It's an awesome experience.
Exactly. I'm wearing hot dog suits, throwing hot dogs into the stands.
T-shirts, you're doing
exactly
you're doing
corralling
everything.
little kids so they can do the halftime show.
Yep.
You're getting a whole bunch more than just, I'm sitting in an office selling. No, it's a lot more than that. And you learn, again, what you like, what you don't like, on top of what your role may describe.
No, I think the last thing, Emily, is that, one of the things we like is that, you're standing in front of, a class of students whether it's at New Haven or whether it's at, Dr. Ashley Gardner's class at Temple, and you're talking to these students and saying, what's the advice you're going to give them? What are you going to tell them?
I think while you're in school, take advantage of all the opportunities offered. A big thing that Dr. Mumchu preached at New Haven is say yes. Just say yes, right? You never know what's going to come of it. If you don't like it, so be it. What's it going to be? A weekend of your time? But now you have that on your resume, right? The recruiters aren't going to ask, oh, did you like doing that? No, they're going to ask, what did you learn from that? It doesn't matter if you liked it, you hated it, you loved it, but it's now on your resume. And now you start building that up for when you go into looking for jobs, applying for jobs, getting interviews. You now have 5 different experiences to talk on versus I did one internship this one summer and that's all I got. So say yes. If Dr. Gardner's sending you something, say yes, do it, try it, see if you like it. That's the biggest piece of advice. Don't wait until your junior, senior year to get experience. It starts from freshman year, just building it up over 4 years. You'll have an extensive resume for when you go to get your first job.
I love the advice of saying yes. Say yes to things. Hey, Emily Bogdanowicz, we want to thank you very much for coming on My First Job in Sports. This has been a really entertaining half hour. We probably could have talked a whole bunch more about a whole lot of subjects, but Emily, again, we want to thank you for coming on, and it was great.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm excited that I'm able to kind of give back from all the alumni I've talked to, all the people I've spoken to, and see what the next generation can do entering into their first job within the sport industry.
Thank you for tuning in to My First Job in Sports. This show has been produced by Brad Mabey. Back episodes can be found at sportsmarketanalytics.com, on the SBRnet YouTube channel, or all major podcast platforms. If you like the show, give us a great review. Also, you can follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, or X.